Hey YouTubers, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to do a video response to Lazerrus Remember the 80's thread. Um, I knew it was going to be a difficult thread when I first saw his video because, as you guys definitely know, I am a huge 80's fan. That's definitely kind of my decade of all decades. And when he started, saying stuff about one album from each year and all that, I just knew it was going to be complete hell. So I managed to kind of narrow it down. I did cheat a little bit here and there, like we always tend to do on these threads. But as always, let me know what you guys think. And as kind of a, little tribute to the theme of this thread, this is what's playing in the background, which is Wham Big. How can you forget that album if you're an 80's fan? But anyway, so I had to kind of put a couple of rules and restrictions on myself so I could figure out how to actually do this thread and pick a record. So the one thing I did is I kept it all like 80's pop. So, there's really, I think there's one I did pull out here, but there's really no R&B, 80's R&B included in there because again, it's just a whole other genre that I'm completely in love with. There's no really 80's hard rock, there's no 80's metal or none of that. So I basically excluded all of those categories just to narrow it down to kind of 80's pop. So that made it a little bit easier to kind of make the video. Because if I had to choose between 80's metal and everything else, it just would have gotten completely out of hand. So here are some of my 80's rock / pop picks. And forgive me if I have any out of order and I say the wrong year or something like that, but I think I have them set up in order here. So for 1980, I chose Queen, The Game. I think that was 80. And of course that's because Another One Bites the Dust. I mean, I think that's one song that really set off a lot of different things. I remember, as I mentioned in the video before, one of the first rock records I could ever remember getting that my mom actually went out and bought for us was the 45 to Another One Bites the Dust. And the B-side was Don't Try Suicide. I'll just always remember that. So that was one of the first rock records I ever had. And again, I mean, Another One Bites the Dust really set the tone for a lot of different things in rock and Queen in general. So that's 1980. 1981, taking a little bit from The Teacher here. It's hard to get around this record for 1981. Phil Collins, Face Value. I mean, that's just classic 80's right there. And if for nothing else, just the song In the Air of the Night. I mean, it doesn't get more solid classical 80's than that. So that's one of my record picks for 81. Here's where I'm cheating. The other one that I picked for 81 is going to be The Cars, Shake It Up. And I mainly picked that record because of the song Shake It Up. One thing you always find, I mean, not only am I'm a huge 80's music fan, but I love 80's movies. I mean, I'm just, especially anything from around like 84, 85 to about 88. I mean, those 3 or 4 years were just incredible. Music, movies, everything across the board. And one thing you'll always find is just about any great classic 80's movies about teenagers trying to make out and do whatever else, you're always going to find the song Shake It Up somewhere in that movie. So, I mean, that song is just kind of like embedded into the whole existence of the 80's as far as I'm concerned. So I had to make sure I put that in there. Alright, so this is 82. I cheated again, but they just couldn't decide between the two. Duran Duran, Rio. Of course, Hungry Like the Wolf, Rio. Again, just very classic stuff there. Save a Prayer. And, I mean, come on, 1999, Little Red Corvette. You have to have that included as well. Prince's 1999. I think that was 82 as well. Yeah. Alright. 83. I've talked about this album in a number of different videos. But Billy Idol's Rebel Yell. This is one of the albums that really took me into 80's pop. I told you a story about that Eyes Without a Face video. But this is one of those tapes, the first tape I ever bought out of a store, which I still have, and I just played it to death. So this definitely defines the 80's for me, especially 1983. 1984, probably 2 of the most classic albums of all time. no way that you can deny Purple Rain. I mean, you just cannot get around that. I don't have to say anything about it. There's also no way you can deny Born in the USA. So, you know, two very, very classic albums from 1984. Both those have to be included there. 85, I'm going with two, maybe that one maybe wasn't as popular as the other one, but it was one of the more moving albums for me in the 80s. The more popular one was, you know, Tears for Fears, songs from the Big Chair. I was about to say something else. You know, Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Head Over Heels. Again, complete classics concerning the 80s. The next one for that same year, which is 85, The Outfield, Play Deep. Again, I remember coming home on the bus one day and a guy named Jimmy, I'll never forget this, he used to always bring his tape recorder on the bus. I heard the song Your Love for the first time and was just completely floored by it. And so that became definitely a big stake for me in the 80s. So I'd have to put that as one of my favorite albums from 85. 86, the classic, Peter Gabriel, So, In Your Eyes, Say Anything. Those of you who've seen that great movie, you recognize what I just did there. But, I mean, yeah, In Your Eyes, Red Rain, Sledgehammer, Big Time. This album was big time. So, Peter Gabriel for 86. 87, again, one of my favorite years. Two albums, again, that you can't deny. George Michael, Faith, which you have Faith, Father Figure, I Want Your Sex. I mean, he really put his mark there. Monkey. And the one and only, undeniably, U2, Joshua Tree. Not to say anything about that. See, so you notice here by sticking, and I guess technically, not technically, but Michael Jackson is also pop, but I kind of left that out. Again, it's just such a hard question. There's so many great albums that you have to leave out, whether it's, you know, Back in Black, like the teacher pointed out when you're talking about hard rock. We're not even going to start talking about the Metallica stuff. You know, Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson's Thriller. I mean, all that stuff is just a lot of great albums I'm leaving out here by trying to stick to this. So, anyway, the one where I did break the mold was, and actually this was a 1988 Public Enemy, Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. One of the most classic hip-hop albums of all time, but there was definitely a tone that they set in the hip-hop world when this album came out. This was right about that time where hip-hop was really kind of new and coming about, and it was really starting to take that turn between groups like Public Enemy and Tribe Called Quest and groups like that were kind of going the more Let Me Enlighten You knowledge direction, and then the other groups that were trying to go more of the kind of the gangster rap. I hate that term, but again, you know what I mean. The groups that were trying to go that direction, and that was one of the albums that really kind of pushed that divide to show what, you know, true creators like the Public Enemy could do. So that's one I picked for 88. And the very last one here for 1989, again, undeniable album as much as you may laugh at it, Milli Vanilli, Girl You Know It's True. Like I said, we can say whatever we want to say about these guys now, you know, after everything that happened with the lip syncing and everything else. But when this came out, this record was an absolute smash. And I don't care who you are, somewhere down the line, you were listening and bopping to some song or some piece of something on this album. And, you know, to me, it's just all part of like regular showbiz. I really don't care if they were lip syncing or not. It was a good album. It was a great image that they put with it. And I enjoyed the time that this album spent floating around the top. So that's, I'd say, the most influential album of 1989. So, anyway, those are my picks. Like I said, I tried to really narrow it down to that real tight pop. Maybe I ought to try to do another video where I do one of the top 10 of the 80s. Maybe the top metal albums, because again, there's just so many when it comes to the 80s. But anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I will talk to you soon. All right, take care, YouTubers.